Alrighty, what's up guys, welcome back to another video on the channel, and today I'm starting a review series where I'm going to be reviewing every single Skylanders game based on a variety of different topics such as, gameplay, levels, roster, story, gimmick, all that stuff and more, and I'm going to be giving them a final review for what I think they should objectively get and what I personally think they are. So without further ado, we're going to kick it off with the first game in the series, which is Spyro's Adventure in this episode. So let's get right into the video. So the 9 categories we are going to be rating SSA on is going to be story, gameplay, roster, levels, post-game, bosses, gimmick, graphics, and side content. And then overall it's going to be getting an N rating out of 90, which I'm obviously going to be turning into a percent for you guys. And then I'm going to be giving it my personal opinion, what I would personally give it out of 10. So let's get right into it, starting with the first one, which is going to be story. I think the story in this game is at least a little bit overrated. It's not bad. It's not as bad as a game like Imaginators, which I don't think has a good story at all. This game has likable characters. It's not bad. The story is not bad, but it's just, I feel like it gets a little repetitive, and it's kind of like, go get this, bring it back here. Go get this, bring it back here. Go get this, bring it back here, over and over and over again for all the elemental sources. It's a very basic story for the first game, but you can't really expect that much of a complicated one from the first game. So I think this gets a 7 out of 10 for me for the story. Now next up is going to be the gameplay, just how I feel like the game plays, the enemies, just the platforming, all that. And honestly, I'm going to give it an 8. I think it did pretty good. For a Skylanders game, for the first one, it did pretty nice. I like the gameplay in this game overall. I think the Skylanders and villains and platforming and level design makes it pretty fun to play through. Overall, I can definitely get enjoyment out of playing this game, and I think it is one of the games in the series with the best gameplay overall, which gives it a solid 8 out of 10 for me. Now next up is going to be the roster. The roster in this game I think is solid. I think it has a solid 32 Skylanders. When you look at like games that come out later down the line, these Skylanders don't hold up as well just because so many of them are going to be weaker and smaller and just not as complex of designs as some of the new Skylanders. So they don't hold up as well, but as far as how they play in this game, I think they play really well. I think the SSA roster is really nice, and I really like a lot of the Skylanders. I mean, you've got great ones like Igniter, Camo, Zook. I mean, Chop Chop, absolutely love him. I do like Whamshell, Gilgrunt, Trigger Happy. I mean, there's a lot of really good Skylanders from this first game. So I think the roster gets a solid 8 out of 10 for me. Now next up is going to be the levels. Now for me, there isn't really any problem with any specific level. I think for the most part, the levels in this game are pretty good. There's a lot of really nice levels that I do enjoy playing through. But because they repeat the level themes, like there's 3 undead levels that all feel like the exact same in a row. Like it's really not good. The level themes being repeated drags us down just a little bit to what's going to be a 6 out of 10 for me. I think that's really the most fair rating that I can give this game, or that I can give the levels, because they repeat. It just feels like it drags on. Any certain area will drag on for longer than it should. So levels for me are going to get a 6 out of 10. Now next up is going to be the post game. The post game for SSA, because of battle mode, that brings it up a lot. But my issue is that it doesn't really have much other than battle mode. But battle mode is really good. Being able to play against your friends is like pretty awesome in this game, and it got heroic challenges, which are pretty cool. And the fact that you can play any heroic challenge with any Skylander is honestly a pretty cool touch, and I'm glad they added that. So this game, while it doesn't have much as some games that would come out later down the line, I think it did pretty good with post game content for the first game, and having battle mode is a huge plus. So it's gonna get 8 out of 10 for post game. Now next up is bosses. Bosses I think is one of the areas that this game struggles in the most. The bosses are just not good in my opinion. It is pretty much chaos every couple levels, and I get tired of it very fast. And you're not even fighting chaos. You're just fighting evil versions of Skylanders that you've already been playing as. This gets very tiring after, like, the 4th, 5th chaos fight. It's like, why do I have to keep doing this? It's just not fun, and eventually you get tired of it. So I think the bosses, while there are some cool ones, like the one in Stone Town, I forget his name, there are some exceptions to the bosses being pretty lackluster, but overall they're gonna get a 4 out of 10 for me. I feel like there weren't enough creative, unique bosses in this game for it to get any higher than that. Now next up is gonna be the gimmick. This is the gimmick of Toys to Life. Being able to place a Skylander figurine, a toy, on the portal and have it in the game to play as using all of its moves is so cool. One of the most creative gimmicks that's ever come to video games and toys in general. I think this is absolutely perfect, 100% a 10 out of 10 gimmick for me. And next up is going to be the graphics. The graphics for this game, while they weren't bad when it came out, I just really feel like they haven't held up. The fact that it was made and designed for the Wii is definitely part of the reason why it looks how it does, and why it's not like an HD game. It doesn't look like the later Skylanders games where they just look absolutely beautiful. It looks a little bit grainy, a little bit rough around the edges, but overall it doesn't look too bad if you play it on the Xbox 360 or PS3. This game doesn't look nearly as bad, but on those versions, it's obviously there's differences and stuff. So the game, I think the graphics overall do hold back the enjoyment of it at least a little bit. So for me, the graphics are going to get a 3 out of 10, which is very low. Now, next up is going to be, or last up is going to be the side content. This is basically everything to do on the side of the gameplay and during levels, you know, elemental gates, stuff like that. For a game like Spyro's Adventure, there isn't too much other than elemental gates, but the elemental gates I think in this game are pretty good. There's a good variety of them. They're nothing too crazy, but nothing too poor either. One complaint I do have is I feel like there isn't much to do in the hub world. When you're in the hub world throughout the game, there really isn't much going on, and honestly, I'm not that big of a fan of it. Like, I feel like in later games there is normally stuff to do in the hub world. There's things to do. In this game, it's kind of, while you're playing the game, you really just got side parts of the levels, and that's it as far as side content in the game goes. So I'm gonna have to give it a 6 out of 10 in that category. So if we are going to be looking at the rating that this game earned from all the ratings that I give to all the different sections of the core game, it would get a 66%, which is a 60 out of 90. While I think this is a little bit too low for how much I enjoy this game, I personally would give it an 8 out of 10. I think this game is a solid 8 out of 10 for me. I really like this game. I think it's a great, fun experience. A 66%, I just think because a lot of it is outdated, especially compared to the rest of the Skylanders series, which did so good in so many of these categories. It's kind of hard for SSA to keep up with some of those. I think that's really the reason why it got held to a pretty low grade, which is a 66%. But thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys in the next episode of this, which is going to be Skylanders Giants, and that game is one of my favorites, so be ready for that. But thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.